What the fuck?
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
What
The fuck?
What the fuck?
And what the fuck?
Not what the fuck. Ways to Freedom with your host, Mbwebe Ishangi.
Welcome to WTF, Ways to Freedom podcast show, where we explore all areas that bring freedom in state of mind, body, and spirit. Sit back, open your mind, and take a journey with your host, Mbwebe Ishangi.
Yo, bless up, everyone. Bless up. Yo, just happy to see you all. We are back at it again. Season 2 of What the Fuck? Nope. Ways to Freedom podcast show. Happy to be here with you all. I know it's been a minute. We took a little hiatus from the summertime, had a little summer. It took some time to regroup and get everything ready for season 2. So we are back at it again. Hoping everything is well with you and yours. I know we've had some recent issues with weather, on the East Coast with a couple of hurricanes. And we've also had, you have your traditional forest fires, it seems to be out on the West Coast. So hoping that everyone is well, alive, families are well. You're not in any dire straits and whatnot. And just, again, giving thanks for you to be tuning in to us, whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording. I'm just really happy to be in this space again. And just sharing some things with you all. The last episode we did in the season 1, we had an amazing season 1, that 12 episodes. It was a great learning experience, engaging. I enjoyed sharing information that I have been putting together, catered towards people of our hue that are also of my like mind. And so for me, it was really it's a blessing to be able to be in this space. And just to give you a recap of what Ways to Freedom podcast show is about, the preface of it came to mind when I was thinking about things that I wasn't seeing, and then especially with the podcast space, the thing that I was looking for was diversity in regards to a different angle, more perspective towards people of our hue, again, melanated people, really people that have an African spirituality mindset. And so, as they say, if you see a void, then go and fill it. And, being a writer for over 31 years, approaching my 32nd year, and I've done lectures and talks and whatnot. So I thought it was a natural fit to try to get into the podcast space. Having some tech background, I've done everything from visual aids. You'll see here, everything that you see here on this set here has been designed by myself. Commercials, everything you see that's putting into this space has been done by myself, just to show you that I'm a jack of pretty much a couple of trades, not all, but a couple of trades. And I enjoy doing these type of things, but also I enjoy, sharing information in a way that I feel both is visionary as well as or visual, as well as giving information. So I hope that you find this is a great space. I hope you're feeling this new banner that I have up here. I keep pointing to this wrong face, but these are my books that I've written. I've written 3 books. I've written 6 books, but these are 3 of the top ones I've done: Analytical, Who's the Boule, and a financial book called Pot to Piss It, Intergenerational Wealth Planning for Black People. And then you see here on the other side here, every episode you're going to see a banner ad where I'll put stuff that is relevant to the topic at hand, and also we'll be leaving space for interested advertisers. So if you're definitely interested in putting some advertising throughout the show, just hit me up. So again, going back to the preface of what Ways to Freedom is about, it's really about hitting those 10 areas of people activity. If you're not familiar with, I mention it every episode just to echo it so it becomes, a natural thing that you can come off your palate when people ask you about the type of world we're living in and how it was systemically designed. When we talk about global white dependency, we have to understand that there has been everything that we're seeing is not by happenstance, not coincidental. There have been a group of people that have decided to come together and rule the world. And in doing so, they have created a system, a methodology that is used that keeps people in a type of mindset that has us somewhat discombobulated culturally. I call it the cultural lobotomy, especially for people of our hue, because we don't even realize that we've been lied to. We've forgotten who we are. And then even worse, we forgot that we've forgotten. And so there's someone at the hands of that. And that's what I think is really what's important. And not only what we forgot, but who's the persons behind it, because they're still at large. They're still working on it every day. While we're out going to work, they're working on for the next 20, 50 years. They're futurologists trying to make sure that this, as best as they can, keep this blueprint of global white dependency in play. So, in order for us to break this cycle, we must begin discussing them, their methods, naming the names, naming the things that they've done, and then also reclaiming the things that we've done so that we can see that we haven't always been in this mindset. There's a certain reason why, and I speak about this in my Slave Ships to Steamships course, is why they came for us. They came for us because there was something about us more than just the physical manual labor they put us through, but there was there's a genius gene that we have. And they have it in such a way that we're able to tap in, but not fully tap in. We're able to tap in fully enough just to get the work done for them. But once we realize who we really are and what, uh, from our bloodline, what we come from, the things that we've invented, things that we've created, and just how oneness we have with the earth, then we'll understand that we are not who we are proclaimed to be or who project us to be, that we're much greater than that. And that will help us to get back on the path of reclaiming that. So those 10 areas, this blueprint is maintained by 10 areas, and I'm going to list them for you so that you can become familiar. And when you think about these areas that I'm about to run off, just understand that for each area I list, there is a white, uh, you know, conglomerate of white families that are in control of these type of things. Again, I call it global white dependency, not supremacy. There's nothing supreme about them. Um, so here we go. We got entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And 9 of those 10 areas were founded by Doctors Neely Fuller and the now ancestor Francis Cress Welsing. The 10th area of health was founded by Brother Kidi Awadu. These 10 areas, again, are governed by white conglomerates, a conclave of, I would say, criminals that basically have been using these methodologies again to keep us in a mindset of dependency on them, thinking that we can't do for ourselves. For example, we are dependent on their education. We go to their schools. We're dependent on getting food from their stores. We don't know, it's been the teaching of gardening has been taken away from our communities. And I have episodes, you can go back to the archive and see there's an episode I did, the last one on gardening and why it's important for us. But the point is that as long as they have these things in place, we will continue to suffer and what we're been experiencing for generations. So with that said, tonight's episode that I wanted to talk about really is about something that is a topic that is very dear to me. It is an underrated topic. It's a often I think people are shook and afraid to really talk about it. Metaphysics is a space that it takes a certain kind of mindset to be even one able to take in the conversation, be able to uh, you know digest what's been said, and even more so be open to receiving, and then also being open for the portal of downloads that can come when you vibrate on this level. So when we talk about vibration, we talk about energy. When we talk about energy, we're talking about frequency. So tonight's topic, a metaphysical topic, is going to be what frequency are you on? And I want to speak about that in depth just to give you some thoughts on questioning why do we act the way we do? How do we get to this mindset? And then how can we break this curse and get in a better space? All right. So with that said, Before I get started, just a few house cleaning things. I'd like to mention if this is your first time visiting this channel, I give thanks for you for doing that. I appreciate it. I hope you'll stay a while, at least listen to this episode. I hope that it resonates with you. And if it does, I hope that you will consider investing in me by simply subscribing. If you subscribe, hit that bell notification, and even perhaps even sharing it with some of your folks. This enables me to reach, as you know, a higher volume of folks. I'm trying to reach as many people as possible that are of that mindset that can take this information in. And with your assistance, it can be done. So it costs you nothing to subscribe. You can hit the subscribe button right now. Let me earn it for you from you. If you are returning, you've been here before, give thanks for taking the time out to return and come and hear me run my mouth for another hour or so. Again, I appreciate that. And again, always it's the whole plea of sharing, letting folks know. Feel free to hit me up, engage. This is an open forum. I don't protest myself to be the master of all this information. I'm still a student and learning and training, but I'm also in a position where I can speak some things here. Hence why I'm here doing what I'm doing. But I give thanks for you tuning in. All right. So uh you know, with that said, too, is as this episode goes on throughout, I am definitely open to any support in addition that you like to add. If you'd like to do a monetary donation, those are welcome. You can see the ticker on the bottom. It gives you the information about how you can do it through either Cash App or PayPal. Giving thanks for that. And so, yeah, let's get started. Let's get into this episode tonight. Again, one of my favorite topics, metaphysics. I've been involved with metaphysics for over 33 years, nearly 30. Yeah, 33 years, 33, power number. And it's a topic that I feel really is self defining when you know who you are and you're really working on becoming more astute in understanding your purpose of why you're here. Okay. So if you're familiar with my style, I always have complementary visionary visuals to go with what I'm speaking about. It just helps me drive home my points. So I'm going to, obviously bring up my PowerPoint here, right? So again, tonight we're talking about what frequency are you on? And so in starting out, we have this notion of that, when we think about things in its totality, the all is mind and the universe is mental. You think about that's in the book, The Kabbalion, which talks about the Hermetic principles dating back to the areas of the era of the Nile Valley. We know that everything is first designed in the mind. It's first created in the mind. And the mind is part of a larger thing. We're talking about microcosm to macrocosm, a smaller part of a bigger thing. We are all interconnected. And when we start thinking about it in that perspective, we can see that there's much more that we aren't spending enough time on. We're spending time on these earthbound type of things and issues, not realizing that there's so much more going on in the world if we would just take the time to focus on that. So with that said, there's the notion that folks feel like you transition and you come back and you transition and you come back. I personally think that's linear thinking, to think that this is the only place on the planet that you can come back to. I mean, in the world that you can come back to. I'm sorry, not even the world. I'm sorry, the universe that you can come to me, I think is linear Western minded thinking, where you think that everything is centered around the earth. There's nothing else happening in space. So what? We haven't seen any spaceships, or maybe we have, but we haven't seen any like earth people, aliens coming here and, frequently and saying that they're from this planet or whatever outside of your conspiracy theorists. We think that there is no other life of any kind outside of this earth if you ask the average person. And even if you ask them that question, outside of the movies, they don't even spend time thinking about it because everything is right here, what's in front of you. So if we don't see it, if we can't hear it, then we feel like it doesn't exist. That, I think, is the problem, because actually in this case, when we, being in this space, is we're spiritual beings having a human experience who chose to come back for a purpose. When you are born, we forget about the fact that one is a blessing, and then two, it's also a mission. And a lot of us never really figure out what that mission is. We'll go through our entire lives never figuring out why I was born. And because you don't find out why you were born, that's probably the reason why you get left behind, like in school, and you repeat this grade over and over again because you're not getting the lesson. So, me included, Obviously, I'm here now because probably there was something I didn't get right before. And my goal is to not come back. I want to go to that next level, wherever else that takes me. So, in order for me to do that, I need to spend time on those things. It doesn't mean I have to spend my entire life, but I can partition some of my time to expand and exercise my mind into thinking, why am I here? What's my frequency? What's my purpose? And so this is why metaphysics, again, is so dear to me. It allows you to think about things from a different perspective, especially from a Western mindset. So when we look at the definition of what metaphysics is defined as, um, technically it's a spiritual belief system based on the science of being, right? It explores abstract concepts to gain a deeper understanding of the world and the universe. It inquires also into conceptual schemes of human thought and experiences. So it's free thinking. It's like those things that are outside of religion, because a lot of us, when we were younger, we were kids, we had all these questions, and we want to ask these different type of things, but oftentimes we had our parents tell us, well, stop asking so many questions. you know, you're not supposed to know everything, and so that when you hear that left and right, and then there's no other outlet, even from your teachers or any other authoritative quote unquote figure, you shut down. Your brain becomes calcified. You forget to ask these questions. So because of that, you're in a space now where you forget to find out what your purpose is. You forget your reason for being here. And so that's what this is really all about, is trying to figure out my reason, my why. And I think metaphysics offers that. In metaphysics, you also find that uh, the use of correspondence, it prevails. And that is the concept of as above, so below, as below, so above. You see that tree on the side, we actually see trees, but only from the ground up, not realizing that the same thing is happening underground as it is above ground. You see these branches and trees and everything on the tree reaching up to the sky, but what's allowing that tree to stand is because the roots behind it are so deep and solid. So that you actually have the same action happening below that earth. We just can't see it. But that doesn't mean it's not happening. Just because you can't see it does not mean it's not happening. And that's what correspondence is talking about. The unseen still can exist, although you may not see it. Okay. So when we talk about our reasoning why we're here, the spiritual component, we talk about the makeup of the human body, and how we see this earthbound, physical body, but forget the fact that our spiritual body was not born here. Your spirit came from some other place. Your physical body, when you transition, will remain here on this planet, but when you transition, your spirit will go somewhere else, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it just goes to show that there's something more going on. And I'll give examples. I mean, some people may not agree with me right now, but I'll give some examples just to make you at least think about that perhaps there is some validity to what I'm talking about. All right. So we're encoded with these answers to our questions. A lot of the questions that we had as youth, and we were shot down from elders, parents, etc. We stopped asking questions. But if you go back to asking those questions, instead of asking someone else, maybe we look inward, because a lot of stuff is encoded inside of us. So this is really about thinking about. It's kind of like you have we already come equipped with a manual. We just need to find the manual. And the manual really is embedded in our DNA if we would spend time. So that's what this is all about. That's why I love the word questions, because in questions you find the root word quest, and quest means a journey, and shuns is the action. So this is the action of finding out your reason in your journey, finding out the thing that you're in pursuit of. Like, how do you get that answer? It's the action of it. It isn't sitting there being waiting for someone to bring it to you. It's you going out and getting it. That's what this is really all about, is the pursuit of having those questions answered. It only happens through the action and dedication, right? So the thing that I found very interesting is when we talk about metaphysics, the notion of, you might have heard of piercing of the veil, or the veil. The veil is kind of like that imaginary line between the physical and the metaphysical, or the known and the unknown, right? Or heaven and earth, someone might say, right? So we find that when we look at the definition of the this image here is known as the piercing of the veil. It's said by Camille Flammarion to find the place where the sky and the earth touch and open the mysterious gateway which separates the world from the other, right? So we know that physically there isn't, I guess you could say there's a veil. I guess you could say there's a veil. There's a line, right? There's a line because if you think of astronauts, in order for them to go from Earth into space, first they have to be in a rocket ship that can take them at least 17,500 miles an hour to pierce the atmosphere. They also have to have the right equipment because they just can't go out wearing, Bermuda shorts and a tank top because they'll freeze immediately because of how cold it is in space. So they have to have the right gear to wear, protective gear. And so they're going from one realm to another, this environment to a totally different environment. That's often difficult to do, and everyone can't do it, right? Because everybody's not an astronaut. However, there's another way to pierce that veil, and that is through your mind, your spirit. And actually, we do that. It's a lot cheaper and it's a little more efficient as well because we kind of do that every night when we go to sleep. When you dream, you're going into another realm. I wrote an article a long time ago called Sleepers, and it talked about how if you were to be laying down next to someone that you are familiar with and you were able to lift their eyelids up while they were sleeping without waking them up, you would notice that they can't see you, right? And my thing was, well, if I close my eyes now and lift my eyelids, I'm going to see you because my eyes work in this space, right? I lift my eyelids, I'm going to see whatever is in front of me. But when you're asleep, it seems that the eyelids or the whatever connector that is to the sight here in this plane gets shut off. Can't see. The eyes are rolling left and right. And if you don't believe me, try it. Try to open up somebody's eyelids without waking them up and see if they see you. They can't see you. So the question is, what is it inside of our body that disconnects with this realm, at least with our eyesight, that we can't see what's in front of us? And then also, where are they then? If they can't see you, then what are they seeing? And where is that sight? And most likely they're in this dream state. And interestingly enough, having a conversation with a very dear friend of mine the other day, if you think about this, we are actually in a space right now where we could consider that this space is the dream state, that perhaps what we're living here right now is the dream world. Time doesn't really exist. So it's not about the fact that I've been here 54 years and it seems like a long time. Well, it could be 54 seconds in another space. If you know anything about dreams and experiences, that are kind of so-called paranormal, time does not exist. So a week one space could be a second another. And that actually can be applied in space. If you were to go to another planet, the time differentiation is there because it takes either a quicker or a longer term time for the planet to rotate around the sun, and that's what's considered a day. Okay, but the point I'm making is that we're in spaces now where uh, we can start to think about these things. We need to actually discuss these things, and just be pretty, just be open to the mind, the possibilities of the differentiation of what we've been taught through Western education, which really we've been taught nothing, right? So that's the thing I want to talk about here. When we talk about the piercing of the veil, it's the second hermetic principle introduced by the three initiates. Again, the Kabbalion, which was written in 1908, and alleges that the material, mental, and um, spiritual planes, I lost my place here, of existence are all interconnected, and things that we do on the material realm have a direct effect on the outer planes of existence and vice versa. So it's just basically saying that things that are happening here have effects in different spaces. Again, microcosm to macrocosm. So this is what we talk about: as above, so below; as below, so above. And this really can be experienced when you think about someone that's at the crossroads of transition and birth. It's a portal that opens to the other world, that other space that you go to. some people, when they see an elder that are, along almost about to transit, die pretty much, is that they may have, you might see them speaking to someone that isn't really there. You physically can't see them. So we might call them senile or losing their mind or whatever. To them, it's a very real experience. We can't see it. Doesn't mean that it's not happening. You know what I mean? We just want to label it because we can't understand it, right? But you can also have some of these experiences, not just when you're transitioning. You can have them in deep meditation. You can have them if you're using something like ayahuasca, etc. And I talked about that in my 9th episode. So if you really want to know more about that, go back to the archives and you can watch that episode. It goes pretty deep into it, and it's still a journey that I'm going through. But here's the other thing when I talk about this is that, we are a bigger part of or a smaller part of a bigger thing. Again, you hear me talk about microcosm and the macrocosm, while we are part of something that is much larger than we could ever fathom. And here's an example of that. On the left here, you see a diagram or an image of neuron cells, brain matter that's happening inside of the mind of a lab rat, right? And right next to it, you see another image, but this is the image of a certain portion of the universe. And this, if you were to scale it, is much more, let's just say it's, light years, multiple millions of light years, if not billions of light years larger than the brain matter that we're seeing from the lab rat on the left. But don't you see the similarities? Interesting thing, is that, we are connected. We are smaller parts of a bigger thing. So in that bigger thing are those same things in us, just on a smaller sense. In essence, things are on the grandest of scales are reflective of the circumstances of the smaller of scales. They're all relative. Neurons in the brain look eerily similar to galactic superstructures. One is only micrometers wide, the other is billions of light years across. One shows neurons in a mouse brain, the other is simulated image of the universe, and together they suggest we are smaller parts of something bigger. Okay? It's not coincidental, it's not by happenstance. These things happen for a reason, and we just need to spend time in understanding why, to understand your reason of your existence. So in saying that, I couldn't have found a better example when a movie in 1997, movie Contact with Jodie Foster came out. And in this movie, the first minute blew my mind. And so, of course, I had to show it to you. All right, so check this out. Oh, and while this is playing, pay attention to the music and see if you can date the music and see if the date is ascending or descending.
Obviously a major malfunction. Well, I'm not a crook.
Robert Kennedy was shot in that ballroom.
We are free at last. A sniper has fired at President Kennedy. Thomas Martin, or have you ever been a member of
Never died.
For something never before experienced. 1941, a date which will live. And we continue the season's final edition of our Maxwell House Good News of 1930. Walter Winchell. Good evening, Mr. North American. All the ships at sea. Let's go to press.
Now, if you notice, you've been hearing the music getting fainter and fainter, getting older and older, earlier and earlier because sound travels. So we're talking about these sounds that just reached these spaces that have been emitted, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago. Now, this is before sound, radio waves, etc. were made. And that's why it's quiet. And we're seeing it's zooming out from the solar system that we're accustomed to, from the sun to Pluto, to now we're seeing the Milky Way galaxy. Now we're seeing Andromeda, which is the neighboring galaxy. And we're just seeing it's continually panning out. This is now considered the Virgo cluster, which is a cluster of stars, of visual stars that they see that, as far as they've seen so far, that's at either the larger galaxy, again, something even larger than the smaller thing. Now you're going to see a whole bunch of other galaxies that look similar or somewhat similar, different in size, different in stature, but galaxies nonetheless. And then it does this.
CQ, this is W9GFO here. Come back. CQ, CQ, this is W9GFO here. Come back.
So when I saw that in the movie theater, I had a connection. I was like, yo, I was like bugging out because I couldn't believe what I just saw. And I couldn't believe that other people didn't see what I just saw. What I saw was a continuum. I saw that we first started on Earth and we panned out through all of the planets, came out of the solar system, came into the galaxy, came into other galaxies, and then it came right back into someone's eye. And of course, Hollywood is going to make the eyes be blue-eyed and blonde-haired. But the bottom line is that it's showing that there is an interconnectivity that is cyclical in nature, just different in scale size, right? So it's like, wow, like that was to me a great depiction of showing the oneness that we are with nature, with not just nature as in earth nature, but the nature of space, galaxies, universe, etc. So to me, it was huge because, it allowed me to understand that, wow, I am significant, but insignificant in a sense, because there's still much going on. But the bottom line is that we're part of something bigger. And Neil deGrasse Tyson couldn't have said it better in saying that we are made up of stars, so we are star stuff. So I want to place a company clip of that.
Recognize that the very molecules that make up your body, the atoms that construct the molecules, are traceable to the crucibles that were once the centers of high-mass stars that exploded their chemically enriched guts into the galaxy, enriching pristine gas clouds with the chemistry of life, so that we're all connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, and to the rest of the universe atomically. That's kind of cool. That makes me smile. And I actually feel quite large at the end of that. It's not that we are better than the universe, we're part of the universe. We're in the universe and the universe is in us.
So he said it clearly. We're in the universe and the universe is in us. We are part of this bigger thing. And hearing that, some of you may have heard this for the very first time, or may have not heard this in a very long time. And to me, that's very important, because how often do you get to even think about that stuff living in this world? Very seldom, if at all. Imagine how many other folks go through their entire lives never even conceivably thinking about something like this. And so it really makes you understand. When I think of it, for me at least, my opinion is, if you never think about this stuff, then you lived a wasted life. And you probably will come back. You probably will repeat this thing over and over again. They look at reincarnation as a blessing. I think it's a curse. Who wants to continue Groundhog Day, having the same experience over and over again, and you don't get the lesson right? You don't get to go to the next level and see what else the life experiences are. But again, it's because it's been purposely designed to keep you from thinking, because as Rockefeller said, he wants a nation of thinkers, not workers. I mean, workers, not thinkers. So he doesn't want you to use your mind, and because of that, we miss out so much on our real reason for being born, your purpose, your identity. What is the reason for being here? This is what metaphysics, I think, brings to the table, not religion. Religion has you fearing about, if you don't do, then this is going to happen. And then they also got you waiting for somebody who hasn't showed up and never will. Interestingly enough, the Catholic Church recently put out that the second coming isn't happening, but believe anyway. How about that, right? They understand the game. They've been the game. They are the game. But they need to keep your minds trapped so you don't think about yourself and see yourself in a different light. Without them, with that mindset, then they are able to manipulate you. And then, when we decide that they're no use to us. So just coming back to the divinely nature of the human species, I believe that we were the first design machine. And when I say that, people think, how do you see us as a machine? But if you think about everything that's been created, it's kind of been designed off the human body. When you think about the car, the heart is the engine, the veins are the valves, the food that fuels it to enable you to continue going is the gas and the oil. A lot of things have been based upon the human structure of how it's been developed. But what's even more deep is a company called CERN, acronym CERN. It's a European acronym. It translates to European Council for Nuclear Research. They're actually the European version of NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration. They actually have been conducting studies. One of the studies they've been doing for a number of years is trying to understand the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory, if you're not familiar, is they say this is how life started when antimatter, one more matter than antimatter, hit each other because they used to cancel each other out. So the molecules of matter and antimatter used to hit each other and they would cancel out. And then one time there was one more matter than antimatter and it caused this big explosion. Now, had it been one more antimatter than matter, we probably had a world living in antimatter. But we live in a world of matter, of mass. That was created from allegedly this Big Bang Theory. But another thing that CERN has been known for, or not known for, if you don't do your research, is they have been able to prove that the spirit has mass, it has weight. And what I mean by that, they did an experiment, have been conducting experiments where they take folks that are on their way to transitioning in their last moments, and they have them lying on a bed with a weighted scaled bed to give them their weight. And when they transition, at the moment that they transition, they've taken their last breath, they've been able to calculate the fact that their body becomes lighter. Think about that. At the moment of transition, you're weighing a certain amount of pounds, and then you transition, and then all of a sudden you're lighter. So that means something happened. Something left you. Something came off of you. And many believe it's your spirit. And so if that's the case, they're saying that the spirit has mass. Now, you can't see it. You can't see the spirit. All right. I mean, you might see a ghost. You might see, people call them ghosts or whatever you want to call them. But in general, you don't see spirits. You may feel them, but you don't see them. So how can something have mass or weight to it and you can't see it? Again, because everything you see, everything you smell, everything you taste, we have 5 senses that we know of. But that doesn't mean these are the only senses that are around. These are the ones that we know of, and these are the ones we've concentrated on. But I believe there's more senses. Obviously, because we see in these cases where we've seen a body transition and it becomes suddenly lighter because something left that we didn't see what it was. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's really significant in understanding what this life is about. It goes to prove or give the notion that this physical body is earthbound. This body, you're going to leave here, as they say, ash to ashes, dust to dust, right? But your spirit is going to go somewhere else. Your spirit is not bound to this planet. It goes somewhere else. And we're going to talk about a place I think it goes to in a little bit. But what we perceive as solid matter is really vibrating energy, right? So, we're going to bypass the conversation of who the architects are, God, Jesus, whatever you want to call it. We're going to go bypass that because really that's a long-winded and probably endless conversation, and it's not relevant to tonight. Perhaps we'll talk about it another time. But what I do want to talk about is the fact that we were created by something divine created us. Something divine created us. And when I say us, they created everything from insects to, molecules to water, all those type of things have been created. And the interesting thing about the species is your species is a conglomerate of different things that look the same or made up primarily of the same. So the human species, although we have different hues, different, textures of hair or, the nostrils, the lips, etc. In essence, we are the same because we all have a skeletal system. We all have a heart, lungs, organs, etc. We have similar things. So we are the same with the species. Something designed that. Something designed our system to work naturally. And to me, that's a great invention. I mean, that's an invention that is I would love to spend more time. I wish we would spend more time in understanding and dissecting. Because think about it. We have a built-in Wi-Fi in our system, right? We're able to connect to realms and dimensions wirelessly. What I mean by that is you can either have deja vus if you're in the physical space, or if you have a dream and you have, epiphanies or things of that nature, you're connecting to different wireless points. You're not, having tubes out of you and connected into some source. You're wireless. Your energy, right? Another example is we're solar based. We can recharge our system, our bodies via sleep, also by way of, sunbathing, getting some sun, getting the vitamin D, or also getting or grounding your feet. Like this body can charge without being plugged in somewhere like you would, these older devices are. Now we have, devices where it's wireless as well. But I believe that we were the first wireless device, dare I say, right? And diet also has something to do with, your charging too. So that kind of goes into how well your charge is, right? We also have software upgrades and downgrades, uploads and downloads all the time. These uploads and downloads could be images, memories, thoughts, voices, your conscience, these things they come in at will, again, wirelessly. And it can be infused with both good and, malware. You could have some good things embedded in you from the download, or you could download some sus type of software that, gonna make you crazy or make you be negative or make you be violent. You know what I mean? Or it could be you take something, that malware could be in a substance, and then it turns you into something else like drugs, etc. So the point I'm making is that we're sitting in a space where we are unaware of the fact that this human body is divine in stature, and it has connections elsewhere. I want to take a quick pause. I want to be mindful of taking a little break. So sometimes I may have a little commercial break right here. So we're going to pause for station identification. Hold tight.
Discover the world of STEAM with Mbwebe Ishangi's engaging online course. From slave ships to steamships, STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, fields that drive innovation and creativity. perfect for families age 13 to 75. This course brings these disciplines to life through history, hands-on projects, interactive lessons, and real-world applications. You'll explore robotics, coding, art integration, and more, all from the comfort of your home. Sign up today and reignite the creative genius inside for every generation. Visit CryptoWokeMovement.com for details.
All right, we back at it, y'all. Just want to do a little bit of commercial break, just a little, let's promote things that I do and whatnot and share with you all. So we're back at it. Let's go and jump right into it. So, as I was leaving off, I was talking about how, malware can be infused into our bodies, right? It can turn you into thinking different types of things. And really, when I talk about the quest of what life should be about, why are we here? I like to talk about the importance of thinking about what's called the summum bonum. The summum bonum is defined from the Kemetic culture, the Nile Valley, about it's the God complex of having the greatest good, being your greatest version of yourself. And a great depiction of that quest is when we see the relic, unfortunately called the Sphinx. And we know the Sphinx, if you look it up, does not have anything to do with what's in front of the mirror or the pyramids in Kemet. The Sphinx is actually defined as a strangler or a guardian, a three-part animal or animal of an eagle and a lion, and also a woman. Well, we know that when we look at this specimen here, this relic, it doesn't have female features, doesn't have an eagle or wings or anything of that nature. It actually is just the bust of a man, which is King Khafre, and also the bottom of a lion. And the reason why it was symbolic was because we knew that there were no half men, half lions walking around the streets of Kemet. What we did know is that it was a symbolic of you raising yourself from your lower beastly nature. King of the beasts were considered the lion. So if you could control your lower self and your beastly nature, then you would be deified to God. So that's what this symbolism was about. That summum bonum of that greatest good in yourself. Why are you here? To define your reason for coming here, you need to become you need to become your greatest good, right? So our ancestors taught that if you could suppress your lower self or beastly nature, you will be deified to the level of God. In order to achieve the summum bonum, you must be elevated to the level. You need to get to that point. So how do you get there? The way to get there is simply by understanding your purpose. And defining your purpose is by changing or monitoring or managing your frequency. What type of things do you allow in your life, in your circle, in your mind, in your spirit, right? So when we look up the definition of frequency, it's defined as a wavelength on which radio or television signals and broadcast and which receiving will be tuned. So when we think about frequency, we always equate to something electronic, a device, a TV, a radio, an iPad, a cell phone, right? Because we receive images, sound, all those type of things on these devices. And we figure there needs to be some sort of connection. There is some sort of energetic connection that allows this thing to come through wirelessly, because again, we don't see it. It's not connected. Anything is coming wirelessly to our devices. But although they limit it to electronic gadgets, what we fail to remember is that we are also electronic to a degree. We have electricity going through us. So we are also able to receive and even emit frequencies, right? So you need proof. Proof is if you were to take that balloon and you rub it on your head and then you stick it on the wall. What is enabling it to stick on the wall is that kinetic energy. If you rub your feet on a carpet and then you go to touch someone, there's going to be a little shock. That's energy transmitting from your lower self into your upper body that is going to allow you to send out a significant charge. These are examples of the fact that there's electricity going through us. And when you start to see yourself as a machine, you will be able to comprehend how electronics and machines work, and thus how the body works, how the human body works. They are all based off of basically genetic makeup of ourselves. And the human body produces and stores electricity. A lot of us don't even can't even conceive that, but it is so true. There's been a study that showed that human bodies can produce electricity. And of all things created, the human species is the greatest, yet most unknown. We know about and we study about the health and the effects of eating this or that, etc. But spiritually, uh, destitute. It's a untapped territory where when it comes to even trying to think about spiritually who we are and the significance of what makes us, right? We are still trying to figure out our functionality physically, and we have eons to go before we even begin spiritually, because everything is based upon manipulation. And unfortunately, the vehicle of choice to understand anything of the spiritual realm is religion. And if you know this, the history of religion, you know that religion has been forced on folks, and there's so much politics behind all that and bureaucracy to manipulate that you really can't be true in your thinking, because number one, most people are believing in something because they're afraid if they don't, they go to hell. So how can you create a legion in something when you're afraid of it, right? That's a whole nother conversation. We're not going to get into that right now. But when all this keeps you away from defining what your purpose is, and we think about what your purpose is, I can't echo enough the sentiments of John D. Rockefeller, this wicked devil quoted saying, "I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers." He does not want us to use our minds. He wants us to be mindless, shiftless, and do exactly what he wants to do. And he uses that to make money and create his dominance. And you can look at past episodes where I've talked about Rockefeller in damn near every episode. So he has been one of the most diabolical creators of global white dependency I've ever seen. But getting back to the human body and producing electricity, it does it through our cells. The amount the amount varies based upon activity levels. So think about this. At rest, the human body generates about 100 watts of power. When you're sleeping, when you're resting, about 100 watts. 100 watts is enough to, light a light bulb. Okay. Now, when you're doing physical activity, playing ball, running, doing, something that is exertion, you're burning anywhere between 300 to 400 watts. Okay. That's 3 times that light bulb. And for short spurts of energy, it can be as high as 2,000 watts. So if you're doing like a sprint or something that's very, it takes a lot of energy that is exerted at one time. And of course, it won't endure, won't last, but it's a quick burst of energy. As much as 2,000 watts of energy can be produced from our bodies. The rest of that energy or electricity is wasted in basically body heat. And I won't say wasted because it produces and it creates your sustainability. But when you think about it, when you want to turn on that electric heater because it's cold in the room, needs to get plugged in the wall. It's electricity that's allowing that heat to come through, right? Well, your body is doing the same thing. It's just not plugged into a wall. Our body is a continual 98.6 degrees. So if that's the case, what is enabling that body to maintain that temperature? Like, we are the original HVACs, if you think about it, right? We have a coolant system. When we're hot, we sweat to cool the body down. When we're cold, obviously we can't really heat our body up too much, but the body will leave our extremities and come into the part where it needs to be protected the most, which is our heart, because that's where all of the action is happening, the pumping to get the blood out and create the circulation and the warmth. So our body is able to do these things automatically. And if we would think about that, it would really give you a different perspective on the respect of who we are as a human body. But a large portion of energy is used for thinking, movement, and the internal functionings of our body and maintenance, digesting food, processing, the water, making, your stools or whatever after the fact, getting rid of waste, etc. Our body is at constant work, right? And that takes up energy. So you have to eat, you have to do these things in order to allow your body to be able to function, right? So with that said, now that we've established that, the next question is, what are N frequencies? What do you think that are N frequencies? Well, primarily it's binary code. and that is the original language in numerology. Number has been known as the universal language. Um, it's very linear to think that you can communicate to the gods using a language, a verbal human language, when that language isn't even old enough to even scratch how long they've been around, right? But that's the caucasity that's been put in us, the Caucasian audacity that's been embedded in us to think that we can actually speak in English to tell God to bring us something, right? It's crazy. But when you're in your car, think about this. Um, I find this I was fascinated with this as a child when antennas were actually sticking out of the car, etc. Right? The radio dial was able to, as you turn the radio dial, you would get different frequencies. These channels would play different types of music. And I used to always think, well, damn, I wonder where the music is coming from. Because you would think it's coming from where you hear it from, the sound from the speakers in that box. You think that's where the music is coming from, but it's not. It's coming from someplace else, right? So when you think about, you see the musical notes next to this radio dial, they show us that this is what music looks like, but we know that that is not what music looks like. When you are in your car and the music is coming into your car, we don't see musical notes floating around where the antenna is pulling in this frequency, this emission, right? It's not coming in that form. We can't even see it, but doesn't mean doesn't exist because we still hear the music, right? So when you think about that, it really starts to put a perspective about seeing versus knowing. Like everything again isn't have to be seen. There's a lot of unseen things that happen that are validated. We just have to accept that and respect that, right? So what we also hear and listen to has a lot to do with our frequency. So if you're listening to, as you're turning that dial, that radio dial to turn to power 99, you're going to hear a certain frequency. That frequency is going to be playing a certain kind of music or a show or whatever, right? And then you want to turn to power 105 and it's going to be playing something different. So what we found is that in all these frequencies that we listen to in radio, especially these days, in the modern era, the frequency is very low. We're listening to all types of music, all types of, comedy or podcasts or whatever that deals with controversy, talking about Diddy or talking about this guy, this guy sleeping with this girl or this basketball player got this girl knocked up. Whatever, it's all controversy hype, that people seem to be attracted to, opposed to trying to do something that will help them achieve their summum bonum, doing something positive, be their greatest good, right? We know that sex sells. We know that this is what people are interested in. So this is what we hear on the radio. I mean, I remember when I was a youth, and again, I'm 54, so I was a 70s baby, that we would hear music. We would hear rap music when I was in high school. We wouldn't hear that until in the afternoon. The radio plays it 24/7 now. You wake up crack of dawn in the morning, you're hearing, shoot, kill, the whole nine. So it's the vibration is extremely low. So it's no wonder we live in a world where folks are having these mental health issues, checking out, very violent. In addition to the food that they're eating, also contributes to that because the food they're eating is violent, been killed violently, they've been raised. That's a whole nother conversation. I did an episode on that. Just go back to the archives. But the point is that we're in a space where, very low vibration is being dispersed amongst the galaxy or but let's just say the world for this instance. And this is why we are seeing very little positivity happening in this area, right? In this era, although it's not definite because we're coming out of it. But with that said, I think about, what you think is connected to the frequency. How do we get connected? Back in the day before they had cable, we had antennas on top of the house. The antenna was the highest part of a structure. The antenna was where it would receive these emissions and these frequencies flying throughout, right? So this frequency would come into your antenna, which would then be connected to your radio or your TV, etc. So when you turn on a channel to channel 3, it was turning into whatever frequency that was playing whatever imagery that it didn't want to play for you to watch or to listen to. Today, it's on steroids because now we're not even using antenna in that way anymore. We don't even really see antenna. Everything is wireless. But we do see are the cell phone towers everywhere. The cell phone towers that are creating a extreme, magnetic frequencies that are cancerous even to us. But if you think about, and I did this experiment where I took a 20-minute drive and didn't touch my phone for that like 20 minutes, and when I reached my destination, I had like 56 notifications from social media, from email, from text, etc. 56 notifications in 20 minutes. Right now, some people have much more, some people have much less. But why am I saying that? That's because my phone was tapped or notified 56 times in that small period of time. And each time it was hit with a frequency, a magnetic frequency. And if you know anything about EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, they are cancerous, especially when you keep these devices on your person, touching your body, near your genitalia. Some women have cell phones in their breasts, and they have fibroids and other cancers because of it. It's basically putting a small microwave on your body, right? And so not only does it have a physical repercussion, but also these frequencies are just, again, low vibration, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that if we think about it, it's here where you receive and send information using wavelengths, aka these frequencies. And like your cell phone, all kinds of information pings your mind, exchanging data without us even seeing it. Right? We see all these things coming in constantly, all day. And if you answer it, you're gonna be on. That's why people are walking today now, just looking at your phone, not even looking up where they're walking and running into things because the phone is taking over. Right? But I call these things energetic parasites. These things are leeches that are trying to pull away any type of summum bonum that's in you and trying to keep you in this low vibration. So when you think about energetic parasites, parasites are leeches. They feed off of you, right? And they really eat you internally. And those people or things that implant themselves in your energy field to take your energy away from you. Okay. They find your weak points and use them to suck your energy. And they can be manipulated or manipulative or abusive people, addiction, hate, etc. So you might have some people in your lives that consistently or ever so often come back in your lives causing issues out of nowhere. They are energetic parasites, and they will continue to suck away from you if you allow them. Right? They implant triggers that can be used to drain you. The way to keep them is by deactivating these triggers. When you no longer respond to the triggers, they will try to intensify them until they finally give up. So when you think about it, right when things are going well for you and someone comes around for the third ass time or 53rd time, right, asking for the same thing or just bringing some fuckery your way, and you wonder, damn, everything's going well now, this is happening. This is that parasite understanding that you are about to break free from it, so it does a few last exertic attempts to try to pull you back. And if you stay steadfast, I look at it as withdrawal. You're withdrawing from something, and sometimes you'll have these withdrawal symptoms where you kind of you feel like you're torn, you're being pulled, because it's something you're used to, it's something familiar, and that although you don't want to do it anymore, right? And I'm using an example of maybe it's someone that's addicted to drugs. They want to get off that drug, but they know the feeling, they're familiar with it, but they know it's not good for them, but it keeps calling them like Mookie or Pookie, right? So we have to think about that thing, because in that situation, if you stay steadfast, you can break away from it. It just has to be with diligence. And if you have the right study and the right perspective, achieving your summum bonum, having data and supportive information and or people to help you get through it, you can break that addiction, right? A good way if you're even on by yourself. But if you do have support, that's great too. But more importantly, you should be able to speak that life into yourself. And this video I found kind of speaks to that. So check this out. Oh, my bad. Here we go.
He loves for you to talk with it. See, within your body, you have a universe, an entire universe. all the cells and the organs. They're all going about their own thing. But if you begin to talk to it, tell everybody how much you love it.
Yeah.
I love you, heart. I love you, liver. Tell it how much you love it. It loves that because somebody's paying attention to it. And when you speak to your own body, you are the voice of God to that universe within you, and it will listen to you. So people can do it themselves.
So that is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's obvious, but it needs to be said. So with that level of what you just said and the new earth that's rising, I see a beautiful world that's unfolding.
Yes.
Tell us what you see.
Well, I know it's there because it's time. The negative has been in the world for too long. We're moving away from it. We're moving into this beautiful new reality where anything is possible.
So that's to me is a very profound statement. You know, we're moving out of this negative space. There's nothing that really they can do, or it's had its cycle, it's had its time. Everything has its time. And so we have been on this negative pendulum swing for quite some time. Some even will say over 6,000 years. And now we see that pendulum swinging. As it swings to the left, it's going to swing the same amount to the right. So that swing, we might have met the apex of where that swing is, and now we're starting to go into a different direction. So, you know, it's not to say that overnight things are going to get great. It may take just as many years to get it back what we've lost. But we're in that groove set right now where people are becoming awakened. People are, you know, being open to the fuckery, questioning it, even breaking away from it, thinking for themselves, realizing Jesus ain't coming, etc. They're starting to realize this. So this is a beautiful time, although some folks may feel like it's tumultuous in regards to all the things that are happening. But again, this is the detachment, and this is something that is natural. So speaking into yourself is important. Speaking about, you know, I take time now after seeing this video to just thank my organs. You know, sometimes I'll take a little bit more time and thank them individually. I don't know all of them, but the ones I do know, I speak, and for those I don't, I speak to those in the unknown state of thanking them for allowing me to be who I am, pain free. When I eat, I don't have to worry about if my food's going to get digested, if waste is going to come out, because I'm not backed up. I don't have IBS. You know, these things are working on automatic, and I give thanks for that, because anything that is given attention to likes to be attended to, likes to be acknowledged. Imagine you working a job, and it probably happens already. You're working a job and no one ever acknowledges you for the work you do. It kind of takes away from you wanting to keep being diligent and being present, because you're not being appreciated. So, you know, I would say in today's world, one of the greatest things you can do is just take a few moments and, be it vocally or internalized, speaking to your body, to your organs, to your body parts, and thanking them, giving thanks and reverence for them being here and doing the job, and allowing you to be who you can be and function. Because without that, we wouldn't be here, right? So with that said too, is, you know, meditation is key. Now, I'm not saying you have to do the traditional meditation. Some people meditate with music, some without. But the most important thing I would say is that you start to listen to yourself. And when you take that word and you unscramble like Soul Train, you unscramble the letters, you can also spell the word silent. So to me, it's important, because if you take that and think about how often do we listen silently to the rhythm of the most constant messenger in this physical realm, the heartbeat. The heartbeat is something that constantly has been beating since the day you were conceived. Your heart, think about that. I'm 54 years old, but my heart has been beating nearly 55 years. From the moment I developed a heartbeat in my mother's stomach, my heart has been beating consistently every day on the day. That rhythm is what's put me and keeps me in balance and cycle with nature, right? So if you were to spend time before you go to bed and just try to tap into that heartbeat, that alone is giving reverence and acknowledging this heart for giving you the life that you have, right? The pulsating tempo our heart makes is more than just sound. It's an embedded encrypted data reminding us of the kinetic connections to the frequency we have with the all. This heart is connected to what made us. It's probably the most primary organ, I would say. I mean, yeah, you need the lungs and all those type of things, but without the heart beating, the blood doesn't go anywhere. So the body does not exist. So I would say that this is probably the most foundational piece of the human species that was designed by those architects. And what better way to be connected to them? By listening to your heartbeat, right? Listening silently, right? Through those frequencies. This also has an ancestral connection. Ancestral and stellar meaning stars, a connection. There is a connection. And it's profound because if we acknowledge that we have living ancestors, where are they exactly? We know they are not in physical form. So where are they now? What are they made of? Some believe in seeing ghosts and spirits. If they are visible, then they are made of molecular and chemical structures and have more measure of mass. As I mentioned before, that transition of the body, and the body got lighter because that spirit left, right? If they exist, then we must concede that they are separate from the physical and earthly body, right? The spirit leaves the body, right? There are a number of ancestors that still try to communicate on these higher frequencies. And the question is, I always wanted to know is, where are they? Where are they physically right now? Where do they reside? So that brings me to the next clip of, where it is conceived by our ancestors in the Nile Valley, of where souls come from. All right, so let me play this clip. Here we go. Here we go.
Asar was resurrected after his son Heru defeated Set. He was resurrected into a specific region of the sky. In that region of the sky we know today as the constellation Orion. In ancient times, it was known as Sahu.
The Sahu was the constellation in the sky, what they call Orion. The original name of that is Sahu.
The same name that identified the so-called mummified body of Asar.
So if you're preparing your body to be Sahu, that's immortal. You're preparing the body for eternity.
So that is the region of the heavens where Asar was resurrected, and we know that it was the first star in the belt of Sahu that was the specific region of the sky where all of the souls who died would follow the path of Asar towards resurrection.
So think about this now, y'all. Our ancestors in the Nile Valley, this is pre-colonialism, pre even the creation of, the troglodyte, that we were in the practice of bringing the heavens to earth. People, you hear that saying, bringing heaven to earth. Well, I would say it may not have evolved, but it was highly used, or I would say they definitely did that in Kemet and Kush and their designs, right? And so when we talk about the Sahu, we talk about Orion's belt. You can see images on the left there of the constellation of Sahu. Orion's belt is that middle section of the waistline, the belt line. And you can see that it is 3 stars kind of diagonally. The third one kind of goes up a little higher. Our ancestors wanting to create heaven on earth understood that, about constellations, knew about longitude, latitude, the numerology, as I mentioned before, numbers being the universal language. So it was not coincidental that we find that when you take the Sahu, the alignment of the Sahu, and you lay it on top of the mirror, the correct word instead of pyramids, because that meant little flat pancake. There's no pancake and it ain't flat. But the mirror of Giza, they would take and lay the Sahu over it, and you can see on the bottom right corner there is how they perfectly align over the mirror. So what's interesting is that people think that the mirror were tombs, burial tombs for pharaohs, and that they were buried there, and they, that's where their bodies were. When in actuality, they were temple tombs. They were actually spaces where the physical body ascended back to where it came from, the spirit body, right? So the the bodies were under the tomb, not inside of under the mirrors, not inside the mirror. This is a portal that would shoot their spirits back to basically its origin, which is considered the Sahu. Now, interestingly enough, too, a couple of years ago, Disney Pixar came out with a movie called Soul. And this is again one of those another movies that I saw. I told you about Contact and how I went crazy. Well, when I saw this movie, I went just as crazy when I saw, in this movie what it was talking about. And let me just play a clip of the trailer, and then I'll kind of unpackage that and why I went so crazy. But check this out.
Are you?
Wow! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Help! I'm not done! Oh my goodness!
Huh? Is this heaven?
No, it's the great before. This is where new souls get their personalities, quirks, and interests before they go to Earth.
Meet 22.
I don't want to go to Earth!
Stop fighting this.
I don't want to! Oh, hey, look, I already know everything about Earth, and I don't want anything to do with it.
You're missing out on the joys of life, like pizza. I can't smell. We can't taste either?
All that stuff is in your body.
No smell, no taste.
Or touch. See?
Okay, I get it. Wow, it's my life.
Is all this living really worth dying for? You're still alive?
Can you help me get back?
No way!
There I am. What are we waiting for?
Wait, not me!
This week,
What is it?
151,000 souls go into the great beyond every day. And I count every single one of them. The count's off.
So I want to talk about this image right here. What you're seeing is considered they call it the stairway to heaven, right? You might have heard about it. There's been songs about it, etc. But the stairway of heaven is basically that space where, you're taking that walk from the transition of earth into heaven. You might have heard of people that had near-death experiences, and they talk about how they saw this light. And in this light, they were greeted by their ancestors, friends, etc. Along the way. It wasn't until I saw this movie that it really made sense to me what they were really saying. What I get from this is that this is a depiction of what we go through, that ascension. What made it even more palatable or more believable is because when you study stars, for instance, the Dogon were able to know about this star. That light that they're talking about, this image you see right here of the stairway to heaven is going into this light. This light is not a light, it's a star. That star is Sirius B. So our ancestors, especially in our valley, and also the Dogon, well before Galileo on his telescope and seeing Sirius B, knew about Sirius B and knew that we ascended, that we came from, more importantly, from that realm. Our souls come from the Sahu. So that's their proclaim, right? So when you think about it, the ancestors that built the mirror, these were temple tombs to both receive and have souls go back to, through this alignment of being lined up just like geographically, longitude, latitude as well included, to point back to Sirius B, enabled this wormhole, so to speak, of spirits to come to and fro from the spiritual realm into the physical and vice versa, as above, so below, as above, or as above, so below. So the interesting thing about that is when I think about that mirror creation, is that we are definitely, like, I'm searching for the word here, but it's like there was a time when we knew about that summum bonum. We knew about these things, and we forgot that we knew. Then what's worse is we forgot that we forgotten. But the beautiful thing about it, it's embedded in our DNA. It's there if you take time to tap into it. So in that realm now, we're beginning to remember, putting back together, learning things that have been genetically released in us through our downloads and I'll say our ancestral data bank, where it's been lying there waiting for us to tap into. And it's assuring to know that we are star stuff and we are part of something larger than what we can ever imagine. And if you would take the time to tap into those things, you will find that you might find your summum bonum, your purpose for being. All right. So Pixar put this out. This is a movie for kids, for children. And they were on to something, and to me, again, I had a connection running up and down the aisle at the movie theater because I figured, man, did y'all see this lesson they just dropped here? You know what I'm saying? That we are connected to something larger. And all we need to do is think about this. And that's the other part I want to talk about. If you remember the image I showed you of the brain matter of the mouse, brain matter neurons, and also the brain matter of the galaxy and how similar they looked. There's a notion that when you think about all the stars, that all the stars are linked. You just can't see it because what's linking them is what's called dark matter. And dark matter is the stringy web-like, same like we have the internet and how the web, the World Wide Web, connects all the computers in the world to communicate with each other, through these wireless wormholes of information. There's the saying that the wormholes inside of in space, if you were to look at it in a different lens, you would see all these black stringy lines connecting all of the stars. These are the wormholes. If you remember in the trailer, if you even rewind a little bit back, you'll see in this trailer that the two characters fell inside this wormhole, and this wormhole was taking them from the spiritual realm into Earth. That wormhole is the same type of wormhole I'm speaking about. That probably is what we see at the mirror and the of Giza going into Sirius B. Okay, so it's just to let you know that like there's some connectivity here, and if we spend more time and just really studying these things, it'll start to click. It'll start to click for you. I get excited about these things. So also understand that there's been this big move to keep us from knowing about these things and conversing about these things. And in order to do that, you got to get people to detach themselves from the spiritual connection, right? And what we found is that they methodically did something in the early 1900s to break a great connection that we had to the spiritual realm. And that was the destroying of over 170,000 bells. Check this clip out.
This old bell that they just digged up, y'all. This right here is in South Carolina. This bell weighs almost 560 pounds alone. Of course, they had to use one of the Tonka toys in order to dig it out of the earth because no man can lift that on its own. But you guys do know what bells were used for, right? You guys do know why we don't see them anymore, right? Why we don't hear them anymore. Remember we used to hear them all the time? Just take a look at all these bells over here. This was in the early 1900s. They gathered almost 170,000 bells all together and they destroyed them. Like over here. When bells are rung, they emit a powerful frequency and vibration that dispel negative energies, which in case promotes healing, health, wealth, abundance. Not to mention they ward off negative entities, parasites within you and around you. This is why big bells and certain bells were housed in churches, because churches was actually a place that you can go to heal thyself. Do you guys remember Spider-Man and Venom? Look at the scene over here when Spider-Man tries to release the Venom, the symbiote, the parasite. Y'all see how he rung the bell? And as soon as he rung the bell, the parasite, the symbiote, which is venom, because it's in his veins, venom, started coming off. And then started finding its way down to Eddie, which is the die, Eddie Brock, which is death. You see that? And it's the X. X marks the spot. That's where you would stand in order to heal yourself. They show you everything in these movies. Look at that. I hope you guys.
So, you know, some pretty profound things that he mentioned in his clip. And, you know, it's really interesting too, is when we think about the removal, why did they remove all of these? Why did they confiscate and then destroy all of these bells? Because again, they wanted to change the vibration because the bells could disperse all negative energy and it could promote healing. They had them at churches. I don't even hear church bells anymore. Haven't for years. And so we wonder why things are so chaotic and out of balance now because of that vibration. That natural thing to break that negative vibration has been removed. So it allows all this negative vibration to prevail. And that's the biggest thing that we have to think about is, the culprits behind this to create this type of environment. So yeah, maybe we can't go out and, build or even resurrect and put up or reconstruct some of these bells, but you can do things on a smaller scale. One example that I found is using sound healing singing bowls. They also emit a frequency that have been used for over 3,000 years for meditation and ascension. They activate the chakras, the wheels through which energy or prana flows. The chakras are energy centers located along the spine from the pelvis up to the crown of the head, pivotal for our well-being. And when out of balance, it can negatively impact physical and mental health. I want to play a clip of the artist. This is Janae Aiko. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but this is one of her clips. You might have heard this track before, but it's a nice visual, and I play this often to just get me centered and ward off any negative energy that are coming my way or around me.
Calm down eventually. You are protected. You are protected. Calm down. Slow down your energy. Calm
Yeah, so I mean that's so like melodic and just it puts you in a whole different mindset. And that's something that we can do to repair ourselves in your immediate environment. If you can't get a singing bowl, just go on YouTube and download or play a video of someone playing a sound bowl. There's just ways that you can tune in to to manage and mitigate the health reparations of your body. It needs to be able to reproduce and reheal because we're constantly on attack. This vibration is no joke, as you know it. So other ways to tune in is you could talk within yourself while being quiet. Something that is really not appreciated enough. Our body has the ability to hear sounds and ideas within and see with our eyes closed. If you think about it, you think about an episode that happened in the past, you see it very vividly, but not with your eyes. You see it in your mind. Your mind is able to see as well. It has its own set of eyes. It has its own ears. It has its own tastes. And, what world or realm or dimension does this exist in? Definitely not the physical when you think about something from the past. It's your inner voice that empowers or animates your physical voice. Imagine when you're talking to yourself without using your vocals, you hear that voice in you. and you're talking to yourself, you hear a voice, but you're not using your voice. You hear a sound, but there is no sound. Imagine that. How powerful your body is if you would listen, internalize that inner voice, that inner sight, those inner things that are in there beckoning of you for to pay it more attention so they can give you the things that you are asking for or wanting and desiring. We often are looking for something outside of us that have shown no proof that it really exists. You know, asking God for things in a language that it doesn't, if it were Jesus, doesn't even speak, and expecting to get a response. When in actuality, if you would look into yourself and ask those things of yourself as something that you want, you first become it, working towards, walking towards it, then you will become that and receive that. That's what it really comes down to. It's not sitting there and asking for something and then waiting and then getting upset because it ain't been delivered yet. You know, but it's that inner ear that really hears. It hears physical events from the past, present, and future, long after they physically exist. It hears music, speech, and sounds before they physically manifest in the present. I can recall images and memories and hear those things and see those things as vividly as it happened in the present, because our body has the ability to recall those things and connect us to those things, positive and negative. It's what you intend to dwell on. If you want to dwell on negativity, then that's what your body's going to feed off of, you know. But think about how this musician, before making a song, actually hears it in their mind first. I mean, that to me is astonishing when you think about that. That artist, that before they made that painting or designed that graphic that you see, first saw it in their mind before it was actually physically made or physically heard. It just shows that time does not exist. You know, that we think that maybe perhaps, I don't know how to put it, but it's like we think about how things manifest and we think, well, where did it come from? We think it came from another place or the past, when it could actually be coming from the future. It could be coming from any domain. But the point is that we see and hear things before we actually physically see and hear things. We spiritually see and hear things before that. And that is something that is doesn't get enough attention. And if we did give it a little bit more, then probably we would find those powers that we ask of others to bestow us with, right? So those are ways that you can tune in. I as well wanted to get on the creative aspect of it and create something myself to assist in that. I actually have 2 videos. I dropped one tonight, a second one tonight, the God frequency of water and the spirit. But the first one I did, I'm gonna play a clip of it so you can get our idea. It's a 6-hour clip. You can watch it on on this channel. If you go to the archives, it's the very first video, and you can watch this and play this when you go to sleep, and while you're sleeping, it will rejuvenate you. This is part of the whole piece of wanting to heal yourself. This is better than going to the doctors in some cases, I would say. So let me pull it up, and you can see exactly what I'm speaking about. Here we go. Clips. I surrender to the wisdom of the universe, trusting its divine plan. I am loved and supported by the universe. In this moment, I am safe and secure. I offer myself rest and relaxation. I embrace the spiritual journey of my life. I am at peace in my body, my mind, and my life. I align my actions with my soul's purpose. So that's just an example of, something that I also contributed. And interestingly enough, as I mentioned, tonight I dropped the second one that I've created. It actually debuted at 9 p.m. And of all days, is today being a full and super moon. And this is about God frequency and tapping in with the moon and water and the spirit. And the interesting thing about this is also that this particular era or time of this full moon is a time of reawakening, of ridding yourself, of releasing and shedding and cleansing before ascending and receiving these things that we want. In order for us to receive the things that we want, we first got to get rid of the dead weight. We got to get rid of the dead flesh, the things that have been lying dormant on us and weighing us down. We talk about how things have been bubbling up, issues. You might have had some, you know, discrepancies, some beefs. You had to end some relationships, etc. Some of these things needed to come to surface so that you can wash them away, wash them off of you. A good way in preparation when you have these moons, full moons and super moons, is you could take a salt bath. You could take, get some lavender, some salt, and you could sit into this tub and let that thing bubble up, and then you wash all that stuff off of you. It's symbolic and also therapeutic in getting off these dead and negative energies, or not negative, but they don't have to always be negative. But if there's energies that no longer serve you, it's about removing those things from you, lighten your load so that they no longer are in the way of the ascension that you're desiring to achieve. It cleanses out your mental space, and understand that the universal language is in frequencies. It's about what vibration that you're on. It's not about the language you're speaking. We're thinking that we could speak to, again, using a human language to gods that are much older than the human being itself. you know, we need to be thinking about speaking in frequencies, acknowledging when we see numbers and pairs of 222s and 333s and 666s and 999s and 1111s. What are those meanings, and what are they saying to me, and adhering to those messages? That's what it really comes down to, is learning how to speak in that language, so when you speak it, it speaks back to you and you can acknowledge that. This is all about what you are doing to release and make room for. So when I ask you about what frequency you are on, it really is about understanding, are you trying to achieve your summum bonum, and what do you think it takes for you to get there? That's that getting to your higher self is so important. And the sooner that you get to that space, sooner you get to that space, um, the quicker that you will start achieving those things that you desire in life. So, with that said, we have reached the end of our episode here, the premiere episode of season 2. I want to give thanks for you for staying tuned in and staying with me this evening. I have a whole plethora of dope topics we're going to talk about all throughout this season. So please be sure, if you haven't by now, subscribe. I hope I earned your worthiness to subscribe and be part of this channel, so that you will receive notifications with the bell notifications as well. And also, if you feel worthy to share with friends and family, or post it and share it, I welcome that. I am humbled, and you even thinking of doing that gesture. And also, if you want to consider doing any type of donation to help this channel to grow, I take monetary donations as well. You can send it to Cash App, Bitmarley, or you can do it through PayPal. The information is on the bottom. But look forward to seeing us for this season every Thursday at 8:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I look forward to continuing to build with you. And I hope that you take this information and can do something that is palatable in your growth. And I look forward to seeing you all in the very near future. We'll be doing our next episode next Thursday. And until then, I wish you nothing but the best. And I'm actually trying to find a video. I always do this when I'm trying to find a video to close out. I'm waiting for it to come. Here we go. So, giving thanks and salute. I will see you all in the next episode. Bless up.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
What?
The fuck?
What the fuck?
And what the fuck?
Not what the fuck. Ways to Freedom with your host, Mbwebe Ishangi.
Let the dollar circulate. Let the dollar circulate. Let the dollar circulate. Please, let the door go to the dollar, 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 dollar.
Discover the world of STEAM with Mbwebe Ishangi's engaging online course. From slave ships to steamships. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, fields that drive innovation and creativity. Perfect for families age 13 to 75. This course brings these disciplines to life through history. Hands-on projects, interactive lessons, and real-world applications. You'll explore robotics, coding, art integration, and more, all from the comfort of your home. Sign up today and reignite the creative genius inside for every generation. Visit CryptoWokeMovement.com for details.
If you like what you heard so far, be sure to subscribe and hit the like button and also notification bell so you can get more updates on as we release our new episodes coming out.